Hi everyone, in this video I do a small introduction to Git and to GitHub. And before you get started with Git, you have to understand that Git is a version control system, and you can think of it as a Wikipedia. When you go to Wikipedia, you know that they track every change so that they can go back and forth between different versions of Wikipedia. And in that sense, Wikipedia is very similar to that environment that happens with Git. The main thing to know is Git was created for managing the Linux kernel, and aside from Git, think of Git as the protocol. You have GitHub. GitHub is the website itself. It's the online interface where you can host a lot of the code, but you could use Git as the protocol without the GitHub system. Additionally, you should know that aside from GitHub, in which all your repositories will be public, you can use things like Bitbucket. Bitbucket would be an equivalent solution for Git. The difference is that in this case, you have a private repository and you might have some fees if you want to increase it for collaboration or to open it at a later time. So it's a different model. The costs are not very high for either or. Let's say you want to make your GitHub repository private. It's not a big cost really to do this. Obviously, the main idea behind Git is for version control of your source code, but it really applies to a lot of things, and even in scientific literature, when people are working with research papers, they have different versions, and sometimes their only version control is really saving a bunch of files as draft 1, draft 2, and so on up to draft 10. And obviously that's not very efficient. Microsoft Word has some built-in functionality for editing and proofreading, but it's really not very robust. So even if you're doing a research paper, you can probably benefit from using GitHub or the Git protocol in general. One more thing I wanted to say, there are different ways of using Git, and one is using clients or GUIs, graphic user interface. However, most of the people that use Git encourage the newcomers to try to learn the command line syntax and using the command line. It applies like everything in programming. It's better to learn using the command line interface, and then you can move on or adapt or use sometimes the actual client just to see a little graphical representation like we see here in terms of how things are going, or some type of other visualization. But in reality, you don't need the client, and you shouldn't start by learning with a GUI. However, if it's absolutely necessary, there's the option here, and you can download it as a GitHub desktop. You could actually download this one, and it will allow you to install both the graphical user interface and the command line interface or the command line tools, and just use the command line tools and see how things change with a graphical user interface. I'm aware everyone learns differently, so by all means, the main thing is to adopt the protocol and then learn it and decide what's best for you. And I don't want to finish this video without telling you about this Git book, and you can go to the website. It's git-scm.com, and this is really the main book. Every expert, every pro really recommends it. It's free, and it's absolutely excellent. So you should save this page, get this book, and use it to learn Git and implement it when doing your coding. I'm going to show you a quick example of how a Git account looks. Here I joined as a collaborator a project, and I already get updates of what's happening there. And every test, we have a test repository, so all these three here are different repositories, and I think that's pretty much it for this introduction to Git, GitHub, Bitbucket, and obviously the resource of the Git book that you should download. It is free, and it's there for you to learn and get started using Git. Thank you very much, guys.